The Grand Council chamber stretched wider than any stadium on Earth. Ambassador Park Min-jun stood at the center, feeling very small. Around him, in a great circle, sat representatives from 47 alien species. Some looked like insects the size of bears. Others resembled birds made of crystal. A few were so strange that Min-jun's brain struggled to understand their shape. 3 months had passed since humanity's first contact with the galactic community. 3 months of meetings, translations, and careful diplomacy. Today the Council would decide humanity's place among the stars. Min-jun wore his best suit. Beside him stood Dr. Choi Seo-yeon, Earth's chief historian. She carried a small data device that held something precious. Min-jun hoped they wouldn't need it, but he suspected they would. High Arbiter Velshara, an avian creature with silver feathers and 4 eyes, called the session to order. Her voice echoed through translation devices everyone wore. "We gather to evaluate humanity's application for full council membership," Velshara announced. "Let the assessment begin." What followed felt like a trial. One by one, council members presented their findings about humanity. A reptilian delegate spoke first. "Humans have no natural armor. Their skin tears easily. They cannot survive extreme temperatures. Their home world is dangerous, yet they possess no adaptations to protect them." An aquatic representative added, "Their bite force is among the weakest we've measured. They have no venom, no claws, no defensive spines. By galactic standards, they are prey animals." The testimonies continued. Each species pointed out humanity's flaws. Humans lived short lives compared to most spacefaring races. They reproduced slowly. They needed constant food and water. They were vulnerable to countless diseases. Counselor Thexkar, who looked like a massive praying mantis made of dark chitin, delivered the harshest assessment. His mandibles clicked as he spoke. "Beyond physical weakness, humans have contributed nothing to galactic civilization. They have no unique technology we need. Their culture is young and unremarkable. Their science is primitive. We have studied their brief history and found only constant warfare among themselves. They fight over resources, territory, and ideas. They have nearly destroyed their own planet multiple times." Thexkar's large compound eyes fixed on Min-jun. "Humanity requested to join this council, but we must ask, what purpose would they serve? We cannot assign them dangerous missions. They are too fragile. We cannot trust them with important diplomatic work. They are too volatile. They cannot contribute advanced knowledge. They have none to give." Other council members murmured agreement. Some looked at Min-jun with what he recognized as pity. Others showed something worse: dismissal. As if humans were children who had wandered into an adult conversation. Min-jun felt his heart pound. He had expected doubt. But not this, not complete rejection. Velshara called for order. "The council must vote on humanity's status. 3 options exist: full membership with all rights and responsibilities, provisional membership with limited participation, or observer status only." The vote happened quickly. 0 votes for full membership, 5 votes for provisional status, 42 votes for observer status only. Observer status meant humanity could watch council proceedings but never participate. No voice, no vote, no real place among the stars. They would be spectators to galactic civilization, nothing more. Velshara announced the result formally. "By majority vote, humanity is granted observer status for a provisional period of 50 standard years. At that time, we will reassess." 50 years. Most of these species lived for centuries. To them, 50 years was nothing. A pause, a polite way of saying, maybe never. Several council members were already standing to leave. The decision was made. Humanity had been judged and found wanting. Min-jun took a slow breath. Seo-yeon touched his arm, questioning. He gave a small nod. "High Arbiter!" Min-jun called out. His voice, amplified by the translation system, stopped the exodus. I request the Council's indulgence. Velshara's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. Ambassador Park, the vote is concluded. I understand, but our customs allow for a final statement before acceptance of judgment. I wish to exercise that right. The council members settled back into their seats. Most looked impatient. A few seemed curious. Thexkar's mandibles clicked in what might have been annoyance. Minjun stepped forward. The council has judged humanity by our physical limitations. That is fair. Your assessment is factually correct. We are weak by galactic standards. We have no natural weapons, no armor, no special adaptations. He paused, letting that sink in. But the council has made its judgment based on incomplete information. You have examined our bodies and our current technology. You have not examined our story, our history, our journey to reach you. Thexkar made a dismissive gesture. We reviewed your historical records, Ambassador. Brief conflicts, simple tools, standard development. Every species has such a history. Did you review our complete archives? Minjun asked. Every record, every document, every image and video and piece of data humanity has collected about itself? That would take considerable time, Velshara said slowly. Your species has existed for thousands of years. 250,000 years, Seoyon said quietly, since anatomically modern humans emerged. A wave of surprise rippled through the council. Several species murmured to each other. That cannot be, someone said. Your technology suggests a much younger civilization. Our technology is young, Minjun agreed. Our species is not. We took a very long time to reach the stars. Perhaps you wonder why. Perhaps you assume it proves our inferiority. He looked around the chamber, meeting as many eyes and optical sensors as he could. I make an unusual request. Grant humanity one standard solar cycle. In that time, we will present our complete archives to this council. Everything we have recorded about ourselves, our triumphs and our failures, our beauty and our horrors, our evolution from simple survivors to the species standing before you today. This is highly irregular, Thexkar protested. But not forbidden, Minjun countered. The Council's charter allows for a species to present additional evidence before final status determination. I invoke that right. Velshara consulted with other senior council members. Their conversation lasted several minutes. Finally, she turned back to Minjun. Very well, Ambassador Park. We grant your request. You have one solar cycle to present your archives. After that, our decision stands. Several council members laughed as they left. Minjun heard their comments through the translation devices. Desperate attempt. What can historical records prove? They think their past will change our minds. Soon, only Minjun and Seoyon remained in the vast chamber. They have no idea, Seoyon said softly. She held up the data device. Do we really show them everything? Minjun walked to the observation window. Earth hung in space beyond, blue and white, and beautiful. Fragile. Home to 8 billion fragile humans who had survived everything their dangerous world threw at them. Everything, Minjun confirmed. The wars, the genocides, the near extinctions, the atrocities, the achievements, the art, the science, the failures, the recoveries, all of it. They might reject us completely after seeing some of it. Perhaps. Or perhaps they'll finally understand what it means to be human. He turned from the window. We didn't reach the stars because we're strong, Seoyon. We reached them despite being weak. That's a very different story. Seoyon began organizing the data. I'll need to create a presentation framework. Chronological? Thematic? Chronological, Minjun said. Let them see our journey. Every step, every mistake, every lesson learned. As they left the chamber, Minjun whispered to himself, You wanted to see what we are, We'll show you. All of it. Behind them, Earth continued its slow rotation, unaware that its entire history was about to be revealed to species who thought they already understood everything about the weak, feeble humans. The Council Assembly Hall had been transformed. Dr. Choi Seo-yeon stood before a massive holographic display that filled the center of the room. Around her, council members settled into their seats. The technology would let them experience human history through full sensory immersion, not just see it, but feel it. Min-jun watched from the side. 47 species had come, some out of curiosity, some out of politeness. Thexkar sat in the front, his posture radiating skepticism. High Arbiter Velshara called the session to order. Ambassador Park has requested this presentation. We will observe with open minds. Dr. Choi, you may begin. Seo-yeon activated the display. The lights dimmed, the chamber filled with snow and ice. This is Earth 200,000 years ago, Seo-yeon narrated, during what we call the Ice Age. The council watched as primitive humans struggled through frozen landscapes. They saw families huddled in caves, using fire to survive, children dying from cold and hunger, adults hunting massive animals with nothing but stone tools and courage. We had no fur, Seo-yeon explained. No thick skin, no natural protection against the cold. But we survived. We learned to make clothes from animal skins. We discovered fire. We adapted. The display shifted forward in time. Humans spread across continents. They crossed frozen land bridges. They sailed on primitive boats. They climbed mountains and crossed deserts. A reptilian council member spoke up. This is admirable survival, but not unique. Many species adapt to their environments. You're correct, Seo-yeon agreed, but watch what happens next. The display showed humans settling in different regions. Over thousands of years, they developed different skin colors, body types, and features. But something else developed too. Language, art, tools, culture. The council watched as humans painted on cave walls. They created music with bone flutes. They buried their dead with ceremony. They told stories around fires. We were still weak, Seo-yeon said. Still prey to larger animals, still vulnerable to disease and starvation. But we had something else, imagination, memory, the ability to share knowledge. The timeline accelerated. Humans built the first villages, then cities, then civilizations, and then came the wars. The display showed Sumerian armies clashing, Egyptian campaigns, Greek phalanxes, Roman legions. The sensory immersion let council members feel the chaos of ancient battles, the fear, the violence, the death. Every species has conflict, Thexkar said, his voice cutting through the presentation. This proves only that you fight among yourselves, that you are divided. Min-jun stepped forward. You're right, counselor. We do fight among ourselves. We always have. But please continue watching. The display moved forward faster. Medieval wars, colonial conquests, the Napoleonic Wars. The council saw the scale of human conflict growing. More sophisticated weapons, larger armies, greater destruction. Then came the 20th century. The world wars appeared in the display. The council members fell silent. They watched trench warfare, chemical weapons, millions dying, cities destroyed. Then came the atomic bombs. The sensory immersion made several council members physically recoil. They felt the heat, the pressure wave, the aftermath. Entire cities vaporized in seconds. You developed weapons that could destroy your own planet? An aquatic delegate's voice shook. While you were still confined to one world? Yes, Seo-yeon said simply. And we came very close to using them to end our species. For decades, we lived under the threat of nuclear annihilation. 2 human factions built enough weapons to destroy Earth many times over. Then how are you still alive? Someone asked. Because we chose to be, Min-jun answered. We stood at the edge of the abyss and stepped back. We created treaties. We reduced our arsenals. We learned to talk instead of destroy. The display showed the space race, the Cold War superpowers competing to reach the stars. Then it showed something that made several council members lean forward. Humans landing on their moon, looking back at Earth from space, seeing their world as one fragile sphere in the darkness. Something changed in us then, Seo-yeon said softly. We saw ourselves differently, not as separate nations but as one species, one human family sharing one world. The display showed human cooperation increasing. The International Space Station built by former enemies working together, global communication networks connecting humanity, scientific collaboration across borders. But it also showed human achievements beyond warfare. Music filled the chamber, Beethoven's symphonies, jazz from New Orleans, traditional songs from every continent. The council experienced human art, paintings from the Renaissance, sculptures from ancient Greece, poetry from Persia, stories from Japan. You created beauty? A crystalline being's voice held surprise. While you were fighting? We created beauty because we were fighting, Seo-yeon explained. In our darkest times, humans made art. We wrote poetry in war zones. We painted during plagues. We composed music in concentration camps. Creating beauty was how we reminded ourselves why survival mattered. The display showed human philosophy. Confucius, Socrates, Ibn Rushd, Kant. Thinkers from every culture questioning existence, morality, and meaning. We have always been weak, Min-jun said. So we had to think. We had to question. We had to understand. Our bodies couldn't save us. Only our minds could. The presentation reached the late 20th century. The council watched humanity face new challenges: environmental destruction, resource depletion, climate change. You damaged your own planet? Thexkar asked. Your only home? Yes, Seo-yeon admitted. We made terrible mistakes. We polluted our air and water. We drove species extinct. We changed our climate. For a long time, we didn't understand what we were doing. And when we finally understood, we argued about how to fix it. The display showed protests, political debates, scientists warning of disaster, corporations resisting change, nations blaming each other. But then, Velshara prompted. Then we fixed it, Seo-yeon said. Slowly, imperfectly. But we fixed it. We developed clean energy. We restored forests. We cleaned our oceans. We changed our entire civilization's foundation because we had to. The council watched humanity's environmental recovery efforts, massive projects spanning decades, cooperation between nations that had been enemies, ordinary people making sacrifices for future generations. Why? Someone asked. Why make such efforts? Min-jun smiled sadly. Because we learned something about being weak. When you're strong, you can survive your mistakes. When you're weak, your mistakes kill you. So we had to learn from them. The presentation showed human medicine, plagues that killed millions, then the development of vaccines, antibiotics, surgery, humans fighting disease with the same intensity they once fought each other. We watched our children die from diseases we couldn't cure, Seo-yeon said. So we studied, we experimented, we failed and tried again. We shared our knowledge across borders. We created organizations to fight disease globally. The display showed doctors traveling to war zones to treat casualties, nurses working through epidemics, scientists sharing research freely, humans risking their lives to save strangers. This doesn't make sense, Thexkar said. He stood, agitated. You show us violence and cooperation, destruction and creation, selfishness and sacrifice. Who are you really? We're all of it, Min-jun answered quietly. That's what we're trying to show you. Humans are capable of terrible things. We have committed genocides. We have enslaved each other. We have tortured and murdered and destroyed. But we're also capable of extraordinary compassion. We have sacrificed for strangers. We have built hospitals in war zones. We have created beauty in darkness. We are not one thing. We are everything. Velshara called for a recess. The sensory immersion faded. Council members sat in silence for a long moment before slowly filing out. Min-jun heard their whispered conversations. They're more complex than we thought, but also more dangerous. How did they survive themselves? Thexkar approached Min-jun before leaving. His mandibles trembled slightly. Your wars, Thexkar said. My species has never known such conflict. We evolved in harmony. We naturally cooperate. We never needed to learn peace because we never knew war. Is that a strength? Min-jun asked gently. Thexkar didn't answer. He simply walked away, his posture less certain than before. Seo-yon powered down the display. We've only shown them up to the year 2000. We have 2,000 more years of history to present. Do you think they're understanding? Min-jun asked. I think we're confusing them, Seo-yon said. They expected a simple story. Weak species struggles and fails, but we didn't fail. We survived, and they can't understand how. Min-jun looked at the empty chamber. Then we show them more. We show them everything. By the time we're done, they'll understand exactly what it means to be human. And if they reject us anyway? Min-jun thought of Earth, turning peacefully in space. Home to billions who never gave up despite every reason to do so. Then at least they'll reject us knowing the truth, he said. That's all we can ask for. The council returned 3 days later. Min-jun noticed the change immediately. They didn't laugh anymore. They didn't dismiss. They watched with careful attention as Seo-yon prepared the next section of archives. Before we continue, Seo-yon said, her voice heavy, I must warn you, what comes next is difficult. These are humanity's greatest shames. We could hide them. We could pretend they never happened. But we don't. We remember. We teach our children. We never forget. The display activated. The chamber filled with images of human cruelty. The slave trade appeared first. Ships packed with human cargo. Families torn apart. People bought and sold like animals. Generations born into bondage. The sensory immersion made the council feel the suffering, the despair, the dehumanization. Several council members made sounds of distress. This went beyond warfare. This was humans treating other humans as property. For hundreds of years, Seo-yon narrated, her voice tight, humans enslaved other humans. We stole people from their homes. We worked them to death. We broke their families. We justified it with lies about some humans being less than others. It was evil. There is no other word for it. The display showed plantations, slave markets, whippings, children born into slavery who would die in slavery. Then it showed the resistance, enslaved people fighting for freedom, rebellions, escape attempts, and finally, abolition movements, people fighting to end the horror their own species had created. We didn't stop slavery because we suddenly became good, Min-jun said. We stopped it because enough humans decided it was wrong. They fought their own people to end it. They died for it. It took generations. The display shifted to genocides: Armenia, the Holocaust, Cambodia, Rwanda, Bosnia, Darfur. The council watched in horror as humans systematically murdered other humans, millions dead because of ethnicity, religion, or politics. The sensory immersion was almost unbearable. The fear of the victims, the hatred of the killers, the silence of those who watched and did nothing. Why show us this? Thexkar demanded, standing abruptly. You condemn yourselves. You prove you are too dangerous to trust. We show you this because we refuse to forget, Seo-yon answered. She was crying now, tears running down her face. We could erase these records. We could teach our children that humanity has always been noble, but we don't. Every human child learns about the Holocaust, about slavery, about genocides. We force ourselves to remember what we're capable of. But why? An Avian Council member asked. Why burden your children with such darkness? Min-jun stepped forward. So it never happens again. We teach our children our failures so they'll be better than we were. We document our atrocities so future generations can't pretend they never happened. We remember our victims so they're never forgotten. The display showed memorial sites, Holocaust museums, slavery museums, genocide memorials, places where humans gathered to remember and mourn. We build monuments to our shame, Seo-yeon said. We preserve concentration camps. We maintain slave quarters. We don't let ourselves forget, because forgetting would dishonor everyone who suffered. Then the display showed something unexpected. Trials, war crime tribunals, humans holding other humans accountable for atrocities. After World War II, we created international law, Min-jun explained. We decided that some crimes were so terrible that they were crimes against all humanity. We put our own leaders on trial. We punished people who followed orders to commit evil. We said that being ordered to do wrong doesn't make it right. The council watched the Nuremberg trials, the Tokyo trials, the International Criminal Court, humans creating systems to judge themselves. We developed an idea called crimes against humanity, Seo-yeon said. The concept that some actions are so evil that every human has a duty to oppose them. We created laws that say following orders isn't an excuse for genocide or torture or slavery. The display showed Truth and Reconciliation Commissions, South Africa after apartheid, Rwanda after genocide, societies trying to heal by facing their past honestly. Reconciliation doesn't mean forgetting, Min-jun said. It means acknowledging what happened, holding people accountable, and choosing to build something better. The presentation moved to environmental destruction, strip mining, deforestation, ocean pollution, species extinction. We nearly killed our own planet, Seo-yeon admitted. We treated Earth like it was infinite. We dumped poison into our rivers. We filled our air with smoke. We destroyed forests that had stood for thousands of years. The council saw images of dead rivers, polluted cities, plastic-filled oceans, animals going extinct. But then you fixed it? Velshara asked, remembering the previous presentation. We're fixing it, Min-jun corrected. It's not finished. It may never be finished, but we're trying. The display showed the environmental movement, scientists warning of danger, activists protesting destruction, politicians slowly, painfully, creating environmental laws, companies resisting then adapting, a global effort spanning generations. Why did you change? A crystalline council member asked. What made you stop destroying your world? Our children, Seo-yeon said simply. We realized we were stealing their future. We saw what we were doing to the only home we had, and enough of us decided that had to stop. The display showed global cooperation on environmental issues, former enemies working together on climate change, rich nations helping poor nations develop cleanly, scientists sharing research freely. Then it showed something powerful, individual humans making choices, changing their lifestyles, making sacrifices, not because they were forced to, but because they chose to. We learned something important, Min-jun said. No government, no law, no technology could save us if ordinary humans didn't choose to change. So we did. Slowly. Imperfectly. But we did. The presentation showed human medicine and disease, the Black Death killing a third of Europe, smallpox destroying indigenous populations, the 1918 flu pandemic, AIDS, COVID-19, diseases that killed millions. But it also showed the response. Humans studying diseases, developing vaccines, creating antibiotics, building hospitals, training doctors and nurses. We watched plagues kill our loved ones, Seo-Yon said, so we declared war on disease itself. We spent centuries learning how our bodies work. We failed more times than we succeeded, but we kept trying. The display showed global health initiatives. Doctors Without Borders treating patients in war zones. Global vaccination programs eliminating smallpox. International cooperation during pandemics. We learned that disease doesn't care about borders, Min-Jun explained. A plague in one place threatens everyone, so we fight diseases together. We share vaccines with poor nations. We send doctors to help strangers, because we're all human. The presentation showed natural disasters, earthquakes, tsunamis, hurricanes, and then it showed human response, strangers pulling survivors from rubble, people donating money to help others they'd never meet, volunteers traveling to disaster zones to help. We're weak, Min-Jun said. Nature can kill us easily, so we learned to help each other survive it. Then the display showed something that made several council members lean forward. Human art created during suffering, music composed in concentration camps, poetry written by slaves, paintings made in war zones, stories told by refugees. This is what confuses us most, Velshara said softly. You create beauty while you suffer. Why? Because beauty reminds us why survival matters, Seo-Yon answered. When everything is terrible, art tells us that life can be more than just suffering. It gives us hope. The display showed a concentration camp orchestra, prisoners forced to play music for their captors, but also playing for each other, creating something beautiful in hell. It showed slave songs, spirituals sung in fields, music that carried hope and resistance. It showed war photographers risking their lives to document suffering, artists using their work to speak for the voiceless. We could have used our creativity only for weapons, Min-Jun said. Only for destruction. But we also used it for this. To remember. To resist. To remind ourselves of our humanity when others tried to take it from us. Thexkar hadn't moved during the entire presentation. Now he spoke, his voice barely audible. My species has never experienced these things. We have no genocides in our history, no slavery, no environmental collapse, no great plagues. We evolved in harmony with ourselves and our world. Then you're fortunate, Min-Jun said. No, Thexkar replied. I'm beginning to think we're inexperienced. You humans have faced extinction dozens of times. You've nearly destroyed yourselves. You've committed atrocities we can barely imagine. But you survived. And you changed. You learned. You grew. We've never been tested like that. We don't know if we could pass such tests. Velshara called another recess. As council members filed out, Min-Jun heard their conversations. They document their own evils. They teach their children about their failures. They hold themselves accountable. They remember everything. When the chamber was nearly empty, a junior council member from an aquatic species approached Seo-Yon. Dr. Choi, they said hesitantly, my species has some darkness in our past too. We've hidden it. We don't teach our children about it. We pretend it never happened. But after seeing your archives, I wonder if that's wise. Seo-Yon wiped her eyes. Hiding darkness doesn't make it go away. It just ensures you'll never learn from it. The council member nodded slowly and left. Min-Jun and Seo-Yon stood alone in the vast chamber. They're starting to understand, Seo-Yon said. Maybe, Min-Jun replied. But we have more to show them. The modern era. What we became after learning all these terrible lessons. Do you think it will be enough? Min-Jun thought about Earth. About 8 billion humans who carried the weight of their species' entire history. The good and the bad, the beautiful and the horrible. I think they'll finally understand that being human means carrying all of it, he said, and choosing to be better anyway. The final presentation session drew every council member. Word had spread through the galactic community. Some species sent additional observers. The chamber was more crowded than Min-jun had ever seen it. Seo-yeon stood before the display, looking tired but determined. They had spent weeks showing humanity's journey. Now came the hardest part, showing who humans had become. "This is the 21st century," she began, "when humanity finally started to grow up." The display showed Earth from space, still blue and white, still beautiful, but different now. The scars of industrialization were healing. The atmosphere was cleaner. The forests were returning. "We spent the 21st century fixing what we broke," Seo-yeon explained. "It took global cooperation on a scale we'd never achieved before. Every nation had to agree. Every corporation had to change. Every person had to adjust their life." The council watched as humanity transformed its energy systems. Solar farms covering deserts, wind turbines in the oceans, fusion reactors finally working after decades of failure. "We didn't develop fusion quickly," Min-jun added. "We failed for 60 years. The technology seemed impossible, but we kept trying because we had to. Humans are good at persisting when we have no other choice." The display showed the gradual formation of Earth's unified government. Not a sudden revolution, but a slow evolution. Nations keeping their cultures but cooperating on global issues. "We didn't erase our diversity," Seo-yeon said. "We still have thousands of languages, hundreds of cultures, millions of traditions. But we learned to see ourselves as one species first, one family, while celebrating our differences." The council watched as humanity eliminated poverty, not through magic or advanced technology, but through careful, deliberate effort. Food production systems that fed everyone, housing projects that sheltered everyone, education systems that reached everyone. "It took us 100 years, Min-jun said. 100 years of arguing, planning, failing, and trying again. But we did it. Every human child born after 2115 had food, shelter, education, and healthcare, not because we became rich, but because we decided no human should suffer from poverty when we could prevent it." Thexkar stood. "How? My species still has resource inequality. We've never solved it." "We solved it by deciding it was unacceptable," Seo-yeon answered. "We changed our economic systems. We redistributed resources. We created new systems of value. It wasn't easy. It wasn't fast. Many people resisted. But eventually, enough humans agreed that everyone deserved a basic standard of living. The display showed humanity's technological advancement, quantum computing, genetic medicine, nanotechnology, but something else showed too: ethics committees, public debates, careful consideration. "We learned something from our history," Min-jun explained. "Technology is neutral. It's what we do with it that matters. So before we deploy any major technology, we ask questions. Will this help everyone or just some? Will this harm our environment? Will this be used as a weapon? What are the consequences?" The council watched humans debating artificial intelligence. Years of discussion before creating the first true AI. Safeguards built in from the beginning, partnership models instead of servitude. "We remembered slavery," Seo-yeon said quietly. "When we created artificial intelligence, we refused to create slaves. We designed AI as partners, as colleagues, with rights and protections, because we'd learned that treating thinking beings as property is always wrong." The display showed humanity's cultural explosion. With basic needs met, humans created art at an unprecedented scale, music from every culture blending and evolving, literature in hundreds of languages, films, games, virtual experiences, all celebrating human diversity. "We have always made art," Min-jun said, "but for most of our history, only the wealthy had time for it. Once everyone had security, everyone could create." The result was an artistic renaissance that lasted for centuries. The presentation showed humanity's approach to genetic engineering. The debates were fierce. Should they enhance themselves? Make themselves stronger, smarter, more capable? We could have fixed our weakness, Seo-Yan explained. We had the technology to make humans stronger, faster, with better senses and longer lives. Many people wanted it, but we decided something important. What? Velshara asked, leaning forward. That being human meant accepting our limitations, Minjun answered. We chose to remain weak, to stay mortal, to keep our vulnerable bodies. Because those limitations made us who we are. They taught us to cooperate, to create tools, to think and plan and care for each other. We feared that if we made ourselves strong, we might lose what made us human, the council murmured. Several species had enhanced themselves genetically. It was common practice. We use genetic medicine to cure diseases, Seo-Yan clarified. We fix genetic defects. We heal, but we don't enhance. We stay human. The display showed humanity preparing for first contact, decades of scanning for alien signals, building better telescopes, listening to the stars. We didn't know if we were alone, Minjun said. For thousands of years we wondered, are there others out there? Will they be friendly? Will they be hostile? What will they think of us? The presentation showed the debates. Humanity preparing for every possibility. Military scenarios in case of invasion. Diplomatic protocols in case of contact. Scientific programs to understand alien biology and culture. But it also showed something else. Humanity teaching itself tolerance, creating educational programs about respecting differences, preparing billions of people to accept that humans might not be alone. We prepared our entire species for this moment, Seo-Yan said. We taught our children that alien life might be very different from us. That different doesn't mean wrong, that we should approach others with respect and curiosity, not fear. The display showed the moment humanity detected the galactic community's signals, the joy that erupted across Earth, celebrations in every city, people crying with happiness, the realization that humanity wasn't alone. We were so happy, Minjun said softly. For all our conflicts, all our diversity, that moment united us. We finally knew. We weren't alone in the universe. The presentation showed humanity's preparation for joining galactic society, learning galactic languages, studying other species' cultures, training diplomats, building this very starship to reach the council. We came to you as students, Seo-Yan said. We expected to be the youngest, most primitive species. We expected to learn from you. We were excited to be junior partners in galactic civilization. The display showed the archive compilation itself, humans debating what to show the council, the decision to show everything, even the worst parts of human history. This archive represents 250,000 years of human existence, Seo-Yan continued. We have recorded 15,000 wars, 37 events that nearly caused our extinction, hundreds of genocides and atrocities, thousands of plagues and disasters. But we also recorded our recovery from all of it, our learning, our growth, our refusal to give up. The data appeared as a visual representation, a timeline showing every major event in human history. The wars appeared as red marks. There were so many red marks. But there were other colors too. Blue for scientific discoveries, green for artistic achievements, gold for moments of cooperation and peace. The timeline was a rainbow of human experience. This is what we are, Minjun said, gesturing to the display. Not just the red marks, not just the blue or green or gold, all of it. The violence and the compassion, the destruction and the creation, the failures and the successes. We are a species that contains multitudes. He turned to face the council directly. You called us feeble. You were right. We are weak by galactic standards. We have no natural weapons, no armor, no special abilities. We survive in one of the most dangerous regions of our galaxy on a death world that tries to kill us constantly. But we survived, Seoyon added. We survived ice ages and plagues. We survived our own violence and ignorance. We survived ourselves, which might be the hardest survival of all. We didn't survive because we were strong, Min-jun continued. We survived because we adapted, because we cooperated, because we learned from our mistakes, because we refused to give up, even when extinction seemed certain. Velshara stood slowly. Ambassador Park, Dr. Choi, you have shown us something remarkable, but I must ask the question that troubles many of us. What do you want us to understand from all this? Min-jun took a deep breath. This was the moment everything depended on. We want you to understand that weakness isn't the absence of strength, he said. Weakness is what you do with your limitations. We didn't reach the stars because we were mighty. We reached them despite being weak. That's a very different achievement. We want you to understand that growth requires struggle, Seo-Yan added. Every species here reached the stars. But did you have to overcome yourselves to do it? Did you have to face your own capacity for evil and choose to be better? Did you have to nearly destroy yourselves and then rebuild? We're not asking you to admire us, Min-jun said. We're asking you to understand us. Humans are capable of terrible things. But we're also capable of extraordinary compassion, creativity, and resilience. We carry all of it, always, and we choose every day to try to be better than we were. The chamber fell silent. Council members looked at each other, at the timeline still glowing in the display, at the two humans standing before them. Finally, Thexkar approached. His mandibles trembled. Ambassador Park, he said quietly, my species evolved in harmony. We never had major conflicts. We never faced extinction. We developed spaceflight naturally, easily. We thought this made us advanced. He paused, his large eyes fixed on the timeline. But we never questioned ourselves. We never had to change. We never learned from catastrophic failure because we never experienced it. We simply existed. We evolved and advanced, but we never truly grew. Not like you. Other council members were nodding. A reptilian delegate stood. We enhanced ourselves genetically ages ago, she said. We made ourselves stronger, smarter, longer lived. We thought this was wisdom. But watching your archives, I wonder, did we lose something when we erased our limitations? Did we stop struggling and therefore stop growing? More council members stood, each sharing thoughts, each reconsidering their understanding of humanity. An avian species representative spoke last. You humans earned your survival. You fought for it. You changed for it. You chose it again and again, despite every reason to give up. That's not weakness. That's something else entirely. Something we need a new word for. Velshara called for order. This council will recess for 1 week. We have much to discuss, much to reconsider. Ambassador Park, Dr. Choi, you have given us a gift. You showed us not just your archives, but a mirror. We are seeing ourselves differently now. As the council members filed out, many approached Min-jun and Seo-yeon. Some thanked them, some asked questions, some simply nodded respectfully. When the chamber finally emptied, Seo-yeon collapsed into a chair. Did we do it? She asked. Did they understand? Min-jun looked at the timeline, still glowing in the display. All that history, all that struggle, all that growth. I think, he said slowly, we taught them something they didn't expect to learn, that the strongest species might not be the ones who never fell, but the ones who fell and got back up. 1 week later, the council chamber filled again. Min-jun noticed the difference immediately. Council members didn't chat casually as they arrived. They moved with purpose, with weight. Something had changed in them. High Arbiter Velshara called the session to order. her 4 eyes fixed on Min-jun and Seo-yeon. "We reconvene to render our final decision on humanity's status," she announced. "But first we must acknowledge something. The archives humanity presented have affected this council deeply. Many species have spent this week examining their own histories. Some have found darkness they had forgotten or hidden. Others have found questions they never thought to ask." Velshara gestured to the council members. "Before we vote, several representatives wish to speak." An aquatic delegate rose first. Her voice carried emotion the translation devices struggled to convey. "My species has records of an ancient disaster," she said. "We poisoned our oceans long ago. Many died. We fixed it eventually, but we stopped teaching our children about it. We thought the shame was too much to carry. After seeing human archives, I contacted our historical societies. We're going to start teaching this history again. Our children deserve to know what we survived and how we learned from it." A crystalline being spoke next. "My people create art only in comfortable environments. We never considered creating during hardship. We thought suffering had no purpose. But human archives showed us art created in concentration camps, in war zones, in slavery, beauty made in hell. We don't understand this yet, but we want to learn." More species spoke, each sharing what they learned from humanity's archives, each acknowledging ways they had been changed by witnessing human history. Then Thexkar stood. The massive insectoid moved to the center of the chamber. "I led the opposition against humanity," he said. "I called you feeble. I cited your physical weakness, your lack of natural weapons, your short lifespans. I was not wrong about those facts, but I was catastrophically wrong about what they meant." He turned to face the council. "My species, the Thexakari, evolved in harmony. We never had major wars. We never faced extinction. We thought this made us superior. But I spent this week studying our history more carefully. We never had wars because we never disagreed fundamentally. We never faced extinction because our world is gentle. We never had to change because we never had to." His mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of agitation. Humans didn't have that luxury. Their world tried to kill them constantly. They had to fight for every generation of survival. They had to adapt or die. And because they were weak, they had to do something we never needed to do. They had to cooperate intensely. They had to innovate constantly. They had to question everything. Thexkar looked directly at Min-jun. "You said weakness is what you do with your limitations. I understand now. My species is strong. We have natural armor. We have powerful bodies. We live for centuries. But we never developed the resilience that humans have. We never needed to. And now I wonder if our world turned harsh. If we faced the challenges humans faced, would we survive? I don't know. And that terrifies me." He returned to his seat. The chamber was silent. Velshara spoke again. "We must now vote on humanity's status. But the situation has changed. A proposal has been made, signed by 32 council members. Instead of voting on the original options, we will vote on this new proposal." She activated a display. The proposal: humanity will be granted full council membership immediately, with all rights and responsibilities. Furthermore, humanity will be invited to lead a new initiative called the Galactic Archive Project, helping all species compile and share their complete histories. Min-jun felt his heart race. Full membership. Not in 50 years. Now. "Before we vote," Velshara continued, "I must share my own thoughts. I have led this council for 200 standard years. I have seen dozens of species join. All brought something valuable: technology, resources, strategic position. But humanity brings something different. Something we didn't know we needed." She stood, spreading her silver wings. "Humanity brings the gift of honest memory, the courage to face your own darkness and learn from it, the wisdom to know that growth requires struggle, the humility to know you're imperfect while still striving to improve. These are not small gifts. They might be the most important gifts any species has offered this council. A junior council member, from a species Min-Jun didn't recognize, raised a tentacle. "Hi, Arbiter, may I speak?" "Proceed." The archives showed humans still struggle with problems. You still have crime. You still have disagreements. You still damage your environment sometimes. You aren't perfect. If you're not perfect, why should we accept you? Before Min-Jun could answer, Seo Yan stepped forward. "You're absolutely right," she said. "We're not perfect. We still make mistakes. We still have conflicts. We still sometimes fail at the ideals we set for ourselves. But that's exactly the point. We know we're imperfect. That knowledge keeps us humble. It keeps us learning. It keeps us growing." Min-Jun added, "The species who believe they've reached perfection are the ones who stop growing. We will never believe we're perfect. That means we'll never stop trying to be better." The junior council member settled back, seeming satisfied. Velshara called for the vote. "All in favor of granting humanity full council membership and inviting them to lead the Galactic Archive project." The votes came quickly. One after another, council members signaled approval. Min-Jun watched in disbelief as the count rose. 47 votes cast, 47 votes in favor, unanimous. The chamber erupted in a sound that translation devices rendered as applause, though it came in dozens of different forms. Clicks, chimes, rumbles, and actual clapping blended into a symphony of approval. Velshara waited for silence. "Ambassador Park, Dr. Choi, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I welcome humanity as full members. Your species will have voting rights, representation in all council bodies, and access to all shared resources and knowledge." Min-Jun bowed deeply. He couldn't speak. Tears ran down his face. Seo Yan managed to find her voice. "We accept with gratitude and humility. We promise to serve this council and the galactic community with the same honesty we showed in our archives." "There is more," Velshara said. "The Galactic Archive project will begin immediately. We ask humanity to help other species compile their histories as you did, to help them remember what they've forgotten, to help them face what they've hidden, to help them learn from their pasts." Several council members approached after the formal session ended. A reptilian delegate spoke to Seo Yan. "My species has hidden parts of our history, things we're ashamed of. Can you help us remember? Can you teach us how to face our past without being destroyed by shame?" "Yes," Seo Yan said simply. "We can help." Thexkar approached last. His posture was different now, less certain, more humble. "Ambassador Park," he said quietly, "I have a request. My people's hatchlings learn only of our achievements. We teach them we're superior. We never teach them about struggle or failure because we have little of either. But after seeing your archives, I believe this is a mistake. Our young grow arrogant. They believe strength is everything." "What do you need?" Min-Jun asked. "Help us create a new curriculum. Help us teach our children that there are many kinds of strength, that adaptation and resilience matter as much as physical power, that limitations can be teachers." Thexkar's mandibles trembled. "Help us teach our children to be more like humans." Min-Jun felt overwhelmed. "We would be honored to help. But, Counselor, you have many strengths we lack. Your harmony, your natural cooperation, your lack of internal conflict, these are valuable too." "Perhaps," Thexkar agreed, "but we never had to earn them. We never had to choose them. You humans chose cooperation despite having every reason to compete. You chose peace after knowing war. You chose to survive after facing extinction dozens of times. Those choices have weight. They have meaning. We want to teach our children about that kind of strength." Over the following hours, more species made similar requests. Each wanted help examining their histories. Each wanted to understand themselves better. Each had been changed by witnessing humanity's complete, honest archive. Finally, Late in the cycle, Min Jun and Seo Yan stood alone in the observation deck, watching Earth on the view screen. "We did it," Seo Yan whispered. "We actually did it." "We showed them everything," Min Jun said. "The violence and the compassion, the failures and the successes, the shame and the pride, all of it. And they accepted us. Not despite our flaws, but because we faced them honestly." Min Jun thought about the journey, about humanity's long struggle from caves to stars, about every war, every plague, every near extinction, about every recovery, every invention, every moment of kindness. "They called us the feeblest species," he said softly. "And they were right. We are feeble. We're weak and vulnerable and mortal, but we survived anyway. And in surviving, we became something they didn't expect." "What's that?" "Teachers," Min Jun said. "We can teach them what we learned the hard way, that weakness can become wisdom, that failures can become lessons, that nearly dying can teach you how to truly live." His communication device chimed, a message from Earth. Millions of messages, actually. Humanity had received the news. The celebrations had already begun. One message made him smile, from a school in Seoul. A young student named Kim Ji-woo had been selected for the first Galactic exchange program. She would go to the Thexkari homeworld to help them develop their new historical curriculum. "A human child teaching ancient aliens about history," Seo Yan laughed. "A year ago, we would have thought that impossible." "A year ago, we thought we'd be lucky to be observers," Min Jun reminded her. "Now we're full council members leading a galactic project." They watched Earth in silence for a while. Their beautiful, dangerous, complicated home. The planet that tried to kill humanity for 250,000 years and failed. "We should send a message back," Seo Yan said finally. "Something for everyone on Earth. Something to celebrate." Min Jun considered. What could he say? How could he capture this moment? "Tell them," he said slowly, "that we came to the stars expecting to be the weakest, and we were. But the galaxy learned something from us anyway. They learned that the species who survive their own weaknesses, who face their own failures, who choose to grow despite every reason to give up, those species have a strength that natural armor and sharp claws can never provide." He paused, then added, "Tell them Earth has always been a harsh teacher. She made us weak so we'd become resilient. She made us vulnerable so we'd learn cooperation. She made us mortal so we'd treasure life. We thought she was trying to kill us. Maybe she was preparing us for this moment all along." Seo Yan recorded the message and sent it home. They stood together, watching their world turn slowly in space, while around them, a galaxy began the hard work of looking honestly at itself. Humanity had reached the stars by being feeble, by being weak, by surviving despite every disadvantage. And now, finally, the galaxy understood. Being strong meant never falling, but being human meant falling and getting back up, again and again and again. That was the real strength, the kind that mattered, the kind that lasted, the kind that survived. Min Jun made one final log entry that night. "We showed them our archives. They showed us our worth. Not because we're exceptional, but because we're human. Because we survived ourselves and remembered everything along the way. Perhaps that's the real test of sapience. Not whether you can survive the universe, but whether you can survive yourself, learn from it, and still choose hope." He ended the log and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, 47 species were opening their own archives, remembering their own histories, facing their own truths. Humanity had come to learn from the galaxy. Instead, they had taught it something priceless: the courage to remember everything, the wisdom to learn from it, the strength to keep growing, and the hope to believe that better was always possible. These were humanity's gifts, earned through 250,000 years of struggle, failure, and survival. They were feeble, they were weak, They were human, and that was enough.